Here until 1 o'clock tonight, it's late night Graham Torrington. My guest this evening is Alex, who came onto our show last time when I was discussing his partner, Paula, who was, at the time, halfway through a trip to the South Pole. She was to become the third British woman to make the trip. By the way, she actually did it. Since then, Alex himself has been having a few adventures, so I thought it's about time we got him on the show to talk about what he was getting up to. So thank you very much indeed for joining me on the programme tonight, Alex.
Yeah, no problem.
Before we talk about the next big thing that you're about to do, let's just find out a little bit about you, Alex. I believe that water has featured a great deal in what you've done over the years.
Very much so, very much so.
When was your first memory of being involved in water and boats?
Oh, well, I've been involved with water since I was an absolute baby with swimming, but my first memory with boats was when I was about 8 years old. And I got a mirror dinghy for my birthday.
Right.
Basically, my father wanted to learn to sail, and I was just the excuse.
So it was your dad that kind of got you involved in all this then, really?
Absolutely, yeah. He's the one that started it all off all those years ago.
And can you remember the passion that you got from those very early times being on the water in a boat?
Oh, absolutely. I remember the first time I went out sailing on my own, because quite nervous, 8 years old, little boy. And my dad used to steer the boat, and I was the crew. And we'd read books about it, and we'd taught ourselves. Neither of us knew how to sail. We just learned from reading a book. And after a few weeks of going out together, then one day Dad got me to drive, and I was on the helm and loving it, and Dad was my crew. And then this one day in the summer, we'd been sailing around together, the two of us, and we got back to the pontoon. He stepped off the boat, and he just pushed me off and said, "Off you go, son, on your own." And I was like, wow, I'm on my own, what do I do? Well, I kind of knew what to do because we've been doing it together, just this time I was on my own. And I remember that moment so clearly. I pulled the rope and the sail stopped flapping, and I've got the rudder in my hand, and the boat just silently moved off on its own. And that, to an 8-year-old, was absolute magic. And I remember it so clearly.
What do you think it is that gave you that magic?
It was, I think at the time, it was being in control of my own destiny. There was no adult telling me what to do. It was just me and the boat. And at 8 years old, that is such a powerful thing.
Let's move on to school days, because you're having fun on the water by then. How about taking on challenges, entering any sailing competitions around about that time?
Well, I was starting to race my boat, not particularly well at the time. I was 13, 14, got bigger and better boats. And then I started racing on other people's proper yachts, just as crew. And I got in with the right crowd and got on very well and started working up bigger and bigger and better yachts. And by the time I was 19, 20 years old, I was virtually racing professionally on big 40-foot yachts. And at the time, the team I was with, we were selected to represent England, which was a huge honour.
And presumably it works better if you're in the environment, if you're on the coast and you know the right people, I would have thought.
Absolutely. I made a real pest of myself. I must have been a nightmare as a teenager growing up. I was just hassling people, getting to the pontoons, just walking up and down, just asking who I could go sailing with, and just kind of making a name for myself almost. What
is it for you, do you think, that is the big attraction of the water? Is it the water? Is it the boat? What is it? Or is it a combination of them?
It's a combination of all sorts of things. I don't know. I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie. I like speed. I like going fast, but I also like not being in control as in a control freak kind of way. But I just like doing things and knowing my actions are making a difference. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually doing something, and I can see what difference it's making that I'm doing.
So you did mention those early sailing competitions. You didn't do particularly well.
Not in the early days, because I'd never been taught. I literally learnt from a book. So the early races from dinghies, I'd go out, I'd do a race, I'd come back, I'd be middle of the fleet, nothing special. But the first thing I would do, as this sort of cocky 13-year-old, is I'd walk up to the guys that had won and say, "What did you do? Why did you go that way when everyone else went that way? What did you see? Why have you got that there? Why?" And I was just continually asking questions, why they had their boat set up in a certain way, what were they doing different to me, and why were they doing different things to what I was doing?
So you
and
were
just learning all the time.
well, exactly, learning and teaching yourself as you went along as well.
And initially, absolutely. But then getting in with the right crowd and then learning a lot from them all the time. Never stop learning, that's my motto.
Well, yacht racing was really in your blood by the time you left school. How about your studies? Did yachts feature in that too?
Well, I did my A-levels at school and wanted to make something around boats and sailing my life. So I went to Southampton and did a degree in yacht design, a marine engineering degree, specialising in yacht design. Not because I wanted to design boats exactly. I just wanted to understand what made boats tick and why some boats are faster than others. And I thought if I understood how they were designed and what went into that thought process, I could make my boat go faster.
Right.
That was it.
And whilst we were studying, were you still able to get out on the water?
Oh, continually. I mean, down in Southampton, down in the Hamble and the Solent, that is the centre of yachting in sort of a lot of Europe, really. And there's some big boats around there. There's some incredibly good sailors around there. So every opportunity I had, I'd be down on the marina at Hamble and just trying to get a ride on whatever I could.
Well, you did mention that you're a bit of a speed junkie, and speed seems to be one of those things that's with you. And I understand that you also tried your hand at racing cars. F1, is it?
I have driven an F1 car, which was just one of the most daunting things I've ever experienced. It was an experience day that I'd been bought by Paula. And it was just one of the most amazing experiences, driving all sorts of racing cars from Formula Fords and Ferraris and Aston Martins and Porsches and Formula 3s, and finishing the day with a few laps in actually driving the Formula 1. And it was just phenomenal. You know, it's not the acceleration, because you expect you expect the acceleration to be amazing. So that's a given. What I wasn't ready for was how fast the thing stops. It's like hitting a wall, literally.
Wow.
It is. It's incredible.
So was boats or speed ever a career option for you? What was in your head about what you wanted to do?
Well, sailing ultimately, but I wanted to get into racing and long-distance racing. But by the time I was at university and finishing university, I was racing on some big boats and doing some long races. And I got a real thrill from racing offshore. So if it wasn't round the Cairns, it was racing offshore. So longer races, you're away for days and days at a time. And I really got a feel for that. That's where I saw my life heading.
Do you know what I'm hearing, Alex? An expensive kind of lifestyle.
Yes.
Which we'll come on to in a few moments' time, because that's one of the reasons I'm talking to you tonight on Late Night Graham Torrington. Let's just take a break. Let's just have a breather for some music. But when we come back, I want to talk to Alex about his challenge, which he's about to embark on. We'll talk more about that in a few moments' time on Late Night Graham Torrington.